Today, there was a mass shooting, and it feels like there's a mass shooting in this country every other day. And unfortunately, the statistics back that up. Today, 17 people, mostly children, were injured. 14 of them, in fact, were children, and 2 were killed, ages 8 and 10. These kids were barely starting life, and the ones that were not taken or passed away, they're going to be scarred for a very long time because of a tragic event like this. Now, this took place at a church, no less, at the Annunciation Church, where these kids were celebrating. They were in the middle of celebrating their first week back. The shooter decided to shoot through the stained glass windows, obviously with the intent to harm people, and in this case, harm children. Now, the purpose of this video is to say this. We as a country, we're one of the only first world countries that haven't figured out how to prevent these mass casualty events. And you have other first world countries like the Czech Republic, like Switzerland, who have a high percentage of gun ownership. These countries have not only a high percentage of gun ownership, but gun culture. Yet both of these two examples are proof that you can have a high percentage of gun ownership and still figure out how not to have one of these events every other day. Now, yes, the glaringly obvious difference is that these countries are significantly smaller than the United States. And on top of that, the United States has such a massive amount of firearms already in this country, and so many individual states with their own laws, that it is very difficult to control. And if you ask me, I'm not an expert in this. Remember, this is my Talk About Anything channel. I'm not an expert in this. But if you ask me, this problem is going to be very difficult to control or get a handle on because there are already so many firearms in this country. Now, I also want to state this. I'm a gun owner. I'm a responsible gun owner and a Second Amendment supporter. I do think that guns have a very specific place in the hands of responsible owners. The problem, and it is a problem that is only made worse by literally the gun community, the problem is that our laws right now are not strong enough, are not strict enough, and are not stringent enough to prevent these events, because right now guns can fall in anybody's hands, not just those responsible enough to own it. And unfortunately, because the Second Amendment supporting community and the gun owners community push back on every single attempt, every single reasonable attempt to change these laws, to make them more strict, because they believe and they constantly parrot that it is a violation of their Second Amendment rights. Well, I support the Second Amendment, and I think that we absolutely need better, stricter, more thorough gun laws and background checks to at least start eliminating firearms or new purchases of firearms to the hands of people who shouldn't have them. Purchasing a firearm in this country is much too easy. Now, with that said, I do believe that this problem that's not going to fix the problem. And I'm not saying that that stuff would have stopped today's event. Okay? There are many other ways or methods at acquiring firearms, unfortunately, again, because there are already so many in this country. With that said, if we had those laws in place, if we were able to at least say, we're trying, maybe then today's situation, which was super, super tragic, maybe it may have been prevented, but at least the country would have been able to say, we are at least trying. Right now, nobody's trying. And right now, it feels like the priorities are Second Amendment rights up here and children and lives down here. It looks like our priorities are wrong. And yes, I understand the entire purpose and premise of the Second Amendment was to protect from tyrannical governments and to protect our other rights in the Constitution. I get that. But right now we are putting that hypothetical situation above a real problem, which is the loss of life. And a lot of the times that loss of life are children, are defenseless children. Okay? This country needs to do better. We need to rearrange our priorities. And I'm not saying that the Second Amendment shouldn't be a priority or shouldn't be a thing to champion for, but it should not be above the lives of people, especially not children. And if we need to tone down or tailor back the easiness that people acquire firearms to potentially have a chance at getting a handle on this problem, then as a Second Amendment supporter and as a gun owner, I think we should do that. Now, I also understand that there is a mentality, a moral, and a mental illness portion or component of this problem. And that is a completely separate issue. But when it comes to that, we need to push, not shun people for seeking out mental help, for seeking out psychologists, psychiatrists, and counselors and therapists. We need to put more funding into helping people with mental issues. On top of that, there is a moral and just a mentality problem in this country as well. When it comes to mentality, this country is such a fuck you, I got mine type mentality, and such an individualistic mentality that I know that doesn't directly translate to what happened, but people care only about themselves and only about their rights and how it affects them. We need to change that because a lot of these other first world countries, European countries, that do have a better standard of living, they do. They have less crime, a better standard of living, better healthcare, and they don't have mass casualty events every other fucking day. They have a much more communal mentality. What is best for the community? What is best for my brothers and sisters? Whereas here we have a fuck you, I got mine type of mentality where it doesn't cause directly these issues, but it stops solutions because people care only about how it'll affect them in that moment. And then when you go to morals, we need to understand, and this is a parenting issue, this is a school issue, this is just a countrywide issue. Our morals are out of whack. We need to realize that how precious life is. And whether that's because we've been desensitized on the internet, whatever it may be, we need to realize we need to realize the sanctity of a human life. And that translates also to animals. We need to respect the sanctity of lives of animals. That means of pets. That means of wildlife. Right now, everyone treats everybody else as an NPC, and you hear it all the time. The country or the world's filled with NPCs. That is because people are viewing life through their eyes, and everybody else is just a fucking character in their own story. When in reality, what's going on is every single fucking person that you walk by feels the same emotions, has the same problems, and is living their own sliver of reality right next to yours, and they are not worth more or less than your life or my life. We need to realize that there is a life is precious, and it matters. That's my rant for today. It's unfortunate that this bullshit had to happen. It happens every other fucking day, it seems like. I mean, you look at the statistics, it's every other fucking day that this happens. We need to figure it out. And to be honest, unfortunately, I don't know if there's a solution because of the amount of guns that are in this country already. And on top of that, because of how much money is pushed against any sort of legislative change to gun laws, and not to mention you have 50 individual states all with their own ideas on this. But anyways, as I'm sure you're aware by this video, this is my Talk About Anything channel. It's my unqualified opinion channel. If this was informative, or if you agree with me or disagree with me or just want to argue with me or want to see a different perspective, whatever it may be, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out tremendously. It's difficult to grow here on YouTube, and every subscription counts and matters, and it means the world to me. If you want my qualified opinion, that is on my main channel, it's just my name, and that is my very narrow field of expertise, which is finance, economics, and that's where my formal education is, as well as over a decade of experience. We talk about investing, finance, personal finance, economics, Federal Reserve policies, all that stuff is on the main channel. With that said, I hope you have a great rest of your day amid this tragic news, and let's try to do better, America. Take care.